Welcome to Comics Bazaar, the channel of comics commentary and arcana. This video features X-Men Volume 2, number 41, cover dated February 1995. And as the cover captions proclaim, to all things an ending, Legion Quest Part 4, that is Part 4 of 4, this is the finale. And interesting to see the use of silver ink here on the title logo and on the corner box as well. And I was thinking about it with the blue, it kind of portends the coming crystallization wave, but we'll talk more about that when I get into the interior of the comic. And the artwork here by Andy Kubert, penciling and inking himself, and as far as I can tell, he's inking himself with a brush. So there's nice little effects here in the background. This looks like a wall that's been destroyed behind Magneto. He's in costume. That doesn't happen, of course, in the comic itself, but it's artistic license. It's a great image of Magneto cradling the body of his friend, Charles Xavier, and future enemy, but all of that gets played around with by virtue of how this Legion Quest climaxes in this issue. So let's open this one up to the splash page, and we do indeed have a splash page here to start with. And we've got our 4 time-stranded X-Men who are in the past, in the early to mid-70s, Israel, Haifa, port city of Haifa. And as Storm says here, this cannot be happening. In Uncanny X-Men 321, they were visited by Cable, who was able to time travel back to them and jog their memories about who they are. So they're back in costume here, in their X-Men costumes, but they are in the past. So the title of this story is Dreams Die. Creative team over here, Fabian Nicieza, writer, Ron Garney, penciler. So Ron Garney is contributing to the pencils of this issue. He contributes about 6 pages there. Andy Kubert's the main penciler, but he only does full pencils for 6 pages, and the rest are breakdowns. Matt Ryan is the inker for both Garney and Kubert, but he finishes Kubert's breakdowns. Kevin Summers, digital chameleon, color, and Bill Oakley, it's his last work on the adjectiveless X-Men, title credited as letterer. He'll be replaced by digital chameleon. So great 2-page spread here of Magneto just launching his powers at Legion, who's protected behind this psionic bubble or whatever it might be. We have this dramatic captioning, the gods have come to Haifa, like ants below, people scurry in panic as the heavens explode in a furious rending of the electromagnetic field. This is in part what the X-Men traveled back in time to prevent, and now seeing it happen before their eyes, they have no idea what to do next. So the stakes are very, very high here as Legion attempts to kill Magneto in the past in order to bring about the fulfillment of his father, Professor X's dream of peaceful coexistence between humans and mutants. So great work on these pages by Andy Kubert. This is full pencils inked by Matt Ryan here. I'm not sure about the choice here to digitally render Legion in his protective bubble here, because he's a little bit obscured art-wise. Here we've got the 4 time-stranded X-Men. I like the spotting of blacks here, the use of silhouettes for parts of their costume as well, such as Psylocke there. Psylocke always looks good when her costume is rendered in all black. And I like the rendering of the pylons here at the docks, the Haifa docks. That's really nicely done. So Psylocke here is trying to make contact with Professor X, Charles Xavier in the past, but she isn't able to, and she's wondering why that might be. One last comment, I see this as Kubert's version of Magneto in competition with 2 of Jim Lee's from Uncanny X-Men 275, that spread of Magneto with Rogue and Kazar. You know that one that I'm talking of? It's kind of like a top-down 3/4 profile. And also the famous one of Jim Lee's, the double-page spread on pages 2 and 3 of Adjectiveless X-Men #1. Like I kind of feel he's competing with those iconic images of Magneto. It's just a pity he wasn't able to have Magneto in costume there. That would have been excellent. So we pick up with Charles This picks up from the end of the previous part, 321, on Uncanny X-Men 321. So Charles is back with Gabrielle Haller, who's his patient, but also his beloved. And she was attacked by their son. She's confused, of course, about how any of it could be happening, and that David Haller, the patient, the John Doe patient in the hospital, could be their son. So she asks him, "What's going on, Charles?" And he says, "The beginning of the end, I'm afraid. Exactly what I knew would eventually come, Gabby. Although not the way I'd hoped. It is the dawn of Homo sapiens superior. We are watching a genetic atom bomb, and it's exploding over our heads." So very, very dramatic stuff. And that kind of treatment of the dawn of mutant kind, it reminds me of maybe the way that Alan Moore used to treat superheroes back in the early to mid 80s, like with an emphasis on grandeur, wonder, and the strangeness of it all, and the high stakes of the arrival of super beings into the ordinary world. And we're getting a little kind of glimpse of that here too, via Fabian Nicieza's expository narrative captions, and also how the characters are seeing what's happening here in the fight between Magneto and Legion. So Bishop is getting involved too, and Professor X here decides to put Gabby to sleep, uses his telepathic powers on her, doesn't see that as an ethical problem. His mind probe is gentle as she falls in his arms, so he lays her on the ground, and he runs up to Psylocke and the X-Men, and he's stunned into silence. An Asian telepath with a British accent, a giant of a man absorbing the cascading energy, another who's like liquid ice, freezing the very air around them. Charles Xavier imagined how this day would be countless times. But now, having met others like himself, mutants, powerful and perhaps dangerous people, a part of him is terrified by the reality of the situation. Again, it's very much that, as I was saying, that Alan Moore device of what would it be like if you had these powerful super beings in our world? What would be the impact of that, the response to that? Seeing that here on these pages in this particular issue. So Storm lands and she says, when he asks her who they are, she says, "That's not as important, Charles, as our reason for being here." So she goes through the fact that they've got to stop Legion from killing Magnus. And this is an interesting little bit here where Charles recognizes adult Storm. As he says here, "I know you." The mental imprint he recognizes. "You tried to steal my wallet in Cairo weeks ago, but you were a little girl. How could? It is you. You're an adult now." And so this is a reference to events that were shown in Uncanny X-Men 117, where there was a flashback to Professor X meeting young Storm when she was a thief in Cairo. So a nice little kind of continuity point there. Nicieza working in to the script. And let's see. So here we've got Ron Garney stepping in to help Kubert out. And my sense as to why Kubert needs some assistance here is because he's busy at work on the upcoming Age of Apocalypse issues. And, you know, a lot of design work was required in preparation for that, developing new costumes and all of that. So, you know, it makes sense that he isn't 100% present for the art on this particular issue. But Ron Garney does a really great job here. He was the artist on Uncanny X-Men 321, and he's still available to do 6 pages of this issues too, and he does really well. So here we have a little scene between, a touching scene between Professor X in the present and Lalandra. She's only present as a hologram, and she makes the point that it's sad that we die as we're forced to live together in spirit, yet still light years apart. And in the background there, we've got Rogue and Gambit, and the news is are like the people in the present are realizing that things must be going badly in the past, so to speak. That the X-Men in the past have failed to stop Legion, because the Macran crystal wave is spreading across the universe and it's coming towards Earth. And so they've got a very short amount of time as they see it. So Gambit here saying, It's sad that Lilandra being just a holographic projection. The professor and her can watch what is coming together, but they can't even touch or help each other. Just thought that was sad as all. So Rogue kind of gets it, and she says, please come closer to me. And up in the air is Archangel, and he's thinking to himself that it's unfair that he's finally gotten close to someone. That's his new relationship with Psylocke, and it's gotten screwed up. And he thinks to himself, well, Warren, good news, bad news. You love her and she loves you, but a couple of weeks after you each tell each other, all of reality is going to end. So he's got some gallows humor there. And he alights down with his old teammates, Jean and Scott, and asks them here, I'm not interrupting, am I? And they say no. We were just watching the relay feed from the Shi'ar telecom outpost closest to our own solar system. Hank and the Shi'ar scientists predict the energy wave will reach us in a few minutes. So to answer your question, War, of course you aren't interrupting anything, and much to their own surprise, they begin to laugh. So a little reference there to when Apocalypse transformed Warren into his Horseman War, and that's the origin of his blue skin and his metallic wings. And speak of the devil, here in the past we have Apocalypse, and he says, so it begins over a decade earlier than my sinister associate predicted. So a reference there to Mr. Sinister 2. And Apocalypse, we've got a nice anchor image of him here, but mostly in silhouette, emerging from his base, standing up and saying, these events simply mean, so he's been watching what's been going on in the news in respect of Magneto battling Legion, and he says these events simply mean that the order of ascension begins now, and may the fittest survive the challenge. So this is prelude to Age of Apocalypse, in terms of the decision he makes here is the reason why that reality is ruled over by him. He's acting in our early to mid 70s rather than the later 1980s. So over Haifa, the battle rages between Legion and Magneto, and this is some really cool angles that Andy Kubert is pulling here in the drawing. Very dynamic art, but you'll see that the backgrounds are fading away. Like, he's obviously rushed for time, hence again why Garney's on board to cover 6 pages of the issue. And we've got this interesting dialogue here between Legion and Magneto. Magneto doesn't know what Legion is talking about, doesn't recognize what Legion is saying about who he'll become in the future. Legion goes through what his master plan is to kill Magnus in the past in order to stop him, thwarting Charles's realization of his dream, and so Magneto is putting it together that Legion is Charles Xavier's son from the future, and meanwhile Charles is watching the epic battle from the ground, and he's realizing too that somehow, some way, that poor insane boy is his son. He believes he's doing this for me in my name. He's going to kill my best friend for my sake. So these are the tragic stakes. So Storm launches into action with Iceman 2, and Storm catches Magnus before he hits the ground, and Iceman makes a decision here to tap into the full potential of his powers, and that goes back to something that Scott Lobdell has been developing in respect of Iceman, his disappointment in himself for not having fully tapped into his powers, such as Emma Frost was able to do in issue 314 of Uncanny X-Men. So he thinks to himself that this is what he wanted, to play with the big boys, right? Well, I get the real scary feeling that it won't get much bigger than this, so I better not screw it up. So he takes on Legion. Legion thinks that maybe he's there to help him kill Magneto. Help you, says Iceman. You are Fruit Loops, pal. I'm putting you on ice, pun intended, dude. And here we go. Bobby Drake never dared use his powers this way, stopping an opponent, not through a constrictive ice sheath, but by freezing every single molecule of water within Legion's body. So that is a radical act by Iceman, something new. And Bishop, when he quizzes him about it, Iceman has some interesting things to say here. It was pretty cool, actually. I saw things differently, looked within myself and at the world in a way which I never had before. It's hard to explain, but I felt like I was part of something greater, a chain or something, which linked everything together, and I just sort of flicked a finger to twist the chain around, and voila, freeze-dried Legion. So that's kind of like making the point that he has a power that is elemental in nature. His power is over the element of water, and that potentially makes him unbelievably powerful, just like Magneto's power over the electromagnetic field, and Storm's over all the elements, the weather. He's potentially Omega level, and this is his first act at that level. So Legion is frozen at a molecular level, but Psylocke realizes that his thoughts are stirring. Dear Lord, they're about to, and then he says, explode. That's what you were going to say, isn't it, Psylocke? So he's out and freed from being frozen at a molecular level, and he's back to his project of killing Magnus in the past. And we get this interesting response from Magnus where he says, how can you be so certain, boy, that he's going to become a tyrant in the future? Your presence here has changed everything. I may never become this monster you describe. And Legion says, I'd like to believe that, but how can I trust you? I'm trying to stop your madness, even as Legion is the one who's insane. If I kill you now, Magneto, things will have to be better in the future. After all, they can't get much worse, eh? And Charles Xavier will make the world right, and he and Mom and I will be together. So Charles, he's weakened by everything that's happened to this point. He's not able to use his telepathy. He hasn't really trained himself in its use either. Can't concentrate enough to use his power. And so just as Legion gets ready to deliver the killing blow to Magnus, Professor X interposes his own body between Legion and Magnus, saving Magnus's life, but losing his own in the process. So this is the dramatic, unintended climax of Legion's plan to go into the past and change the future by killing Magneto. And the narrative caption makes the point that for Charles Francis Xavier, there never was a choice. Today, all of his perceptions of reality were ripped away. And in one desperate move, his future, his life are sacrificed, for there was never a choice. So, Professor X killed in the past before he ever formed the X-Men, and therefore Phoenix was never there to prevent the McCran crystal in Uncanny X-Men 108 from crystallizing all of reality after the Shi'ar Emperor, the Mad Emperor, D'Ken opened the McCran crystal. So that's what's happening here, is the crystalline wave emanating from the McCran crystal is happening because of this changed past, because the X-Men never came to be, because Jean Grey, Phoenix, never stopped the McCran crystal from destroying reality. So now reality is going to be wiped out. And this is a cool effect by Kubert here of the X-Men in the past and Legion himself, because now how can he exist? He's killed his own father in the past. How can he exist? There's a paradox there. So they're all wiped out. This cool elongated effect by Kubert. It's really nicely done. But look who's left there. Bishop. And he is what do I want to say? Like he's lost his power of speech. It'll turn out that he is amnesiac again and has, in a sense, like lost his mind. But he hasn't winked out of existence. He's a time anomaly, a double time anomaly in the past, and for some reason that's allowed him to remain in the past. And there we have Magnus cradling the dead body of his friend Charles Xavier. So what decisions will this Magnus make now that Charles is dead? How will the world go differently? And remember, Apocalypse has made the decision to move 10 years earlier than he would have. And then we're back in our present, And we've got Magneto, the mind-wiped Magneto aboard Avalon, having turned to crystal. All of the acolytes and Exodus as well. And now the crystal wave is hitting our planet. By the way, this page is by Garney. Another page by Garney here as well. This is really nice. So these three original X-Men standing together. Warren points out that the crystal wave is coming. Here it is. And Rogue sees it. And then she kisses Gambit. So for the first time, one last moment together to act on the only thing they have left. And there will be ramifications in the future regarding this kiss and this skin-to-skin contact. And we all know how Rogue's power works, that she absorbs the psyche and memories of whoever she makes contact with. And here we see, on this double-page spread by Ron Garney, inked by Matt Ryan, various moments, climactic moments of action from other titles. We've got Adam X going up against Eric the Red here. Now that's not shown in any other title, but we've got Wolverine going up against Sabretooth in Wolverine number 90. I'll do a review of that one shortly. We've got X-Force here. I'm not sure which this one is, either Excalibur or X-Factor maybe is the reference there. Generation X here. No, this is Excalibur. No, this is X-Factor because they're Strong Guy. And then the original X-Men here, Beast, Scott, Jean, Warren up in the air as well, and Professor X himself. And the narrative captions, interesting. The world ends with neither bang nor whimper, but in an eerie, silent, shimmering shroud of glass. A world which, like one man's dreams, proved to be such a delicate thing, and when not handled with enough care, is so easily shattered. And there's Professor X, dead in the past, shattered in the future. Look at the two shards of crystal here crossing. The end. Nicely done. Very nicely designed and done by Garney. So that's it. The end of reality, the X-Men's reality as we've known it, and a new age created from the mid-70s onwards. Apocalypse making his move, Magneto alive, privy to what Charles's dream was. What will be the outcome of all of this? It'll all be explored in the Age of Apocalypse event. And there you go. I do hope that you enjoyed this review and commentary on X-Men, Adjectiveless X-Men number 41. If you did, please like the video on YouTube. And if you haven't done so already, subscribe to the channel and stay tuned for more content like this.